Welcome back to the Twin Times Podcast, episode 38. Today we have another special guest. Her name is Priya Addams Williams. She runs the Shift 20 initiative for the Dylan Alcott Foundation. We talk about the Shift 20 initiative and the Shift 20 casting call.
Is that we convinced 13 major brands around the country to take an existing television commercial and reshoot a scene from that to feature someone with disability, because we want to call attention to the fact that at that time, it was nearly 20% of Australians. Now, with the most recent census, it's over 20% of Australians live with some form of disability. And at that point in time, we're represented on our screens at a rate of less than 1%. So for a really long time, that was the project. And it was going to be this moment to really start the conversation around disability representation and inclusion and how we as an industry need to be doing better. Yeah. We decided if we wanted to do something to really create long-term enduring change, we needed to really commit to it. And that's where the idea of the Shift 20 initiative was born.
We also talk about her thoughts on disability representation in advertising.
The questions that we're getting, the questions that we're asking of ourselves, but then the questions we're getting from agencies, from brands, from marketers, they're becoming more complex, they're becoming more nuanced because people are starting to really dig deeper into what that authentic representation and inclusion looks like, which to me is a great sign that we're moving in the right direction.
And then we also talk about for the Dylan Alcott Foundation.
Foundation is 8 years old and really primarily started in the space of grants. So the foundation's mission is to help young people with disability achieve their dreams. And that really started, given Dylan's background, it started in the sporting space. So giving young people with disability grants to, help them achieve their athletic goals. And that's really broadened out in the last year. So now we support people across, sports, but also music, public speaking, any sort of thing that they want to achieve. If we can support it, we do our very best too.
Other than that, let's hop into the episode.
Hello.
How are you both?
Good, Priya. How are you?
I am going well. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a bit tired because I had a baby keep me up quite late last night. So apologies.
Okay. No, all good. How is the little one? Yeah.
She's good. She's normally an angel. And then last night she decided she wanted to have a party from 11 p.m. to 3:30 in the morning. So
yeah, right. Fair enough. She knew you had a podcast.
A podcast with camera as well, not just audio. So to make sure I really
yeah. No, how are we?
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah, been really, really good. We've had a fair few interviews. So we've had 3 weeks of solid podcast work.
Yeah,
so you're awesome. The last one off the bat. Yeah. So
great, and then a bit of a break.
Yeah, and then a little bit of a break, which is good. But all guests have been really, really good. So yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying. I'm almost done with your one with Sarah. It was great.
Oh, did you watch it or listen?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I was having a watch. It was good prep, and it's always lovely to see a familiar face. The podcast, and she's so brilliant and well spoken. So it might have made me more nervous actually hearing her speak first.
All right, Priya, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and, in a way, why you wanted to get into advertising and media?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Priya. I grew up in America, in Nebraska, so right in the middle. Where I grew up is actually a bit similar to Adelaide. So my husband is also from Adelaide, always laughs because even when we're in America, he feels like he's back home. So I grew up in a family that was not in the media or in advertising at all. And I think I just never saw myself represented on screen, which is something that I'm really passionate about changing. So I really wanted to ensure that the voices that we're hearing in the world and, the stories we're telling are more reflective of the community that we live in. So I spent a lot of time thinking about that in college and then thought, okay, well, if that's something I want to change, what's the best way to do it? And I thought I'll get into advertising. So spent about 10 years in agencies working with brands and creatives and producers and everyone in the industry, and absolutely loved it. And yeah, just always kind of had that as an undercurrent with everything that I was doing or trying to achieve with the work that we were putting out into the world, and ensuring that we had diversity where we could. And then I was at an agency called Special Group, and it just so happened that the woman who sat next to me got put on this project with the Dylan Alcott Foundation, and she was talking about it one day, and I caught wind of it. I'm like, hang on, that sounds amazing. I want to be in that. And thankfully she left. And so I just swooped in and said, can I work on that, please? And yeah, so got on the project from that end. And that project ended up becoming the Shift 20 initiative. So that's kind of how I landed here today. But yeah, I guess coming from a background of being a young girl of color in a pretty white area, really just kind of from a young age honed in the importance for me of making sure that we have representation.
No, absolutely. It's a driving change that's happening, and Shift 20 and the Dylan Alcott Foundation have been one of the leaders in that. What gave the idea to be born? Give us a bit of an insight. Yeah.
So Dylan was in at the agency about a different project actually, and I wasn't in this meeting, but a bit of a conversation happened. He mentioned to some of the partners, hey, I really want to do something around the lack of representation of people with disability in advertising. Would you be interested? And they all were like, yes, absolutely. And so then we spent many months working on the shape of what this looked like. And we convinced 13 major brands around the country to take an existing television commercial and reshoot a scene from that to feature someone with disability, because we wanted to call attention to the fact that at that time it was nearly 20% of Australians. Now with the most recent census, it's over 20% of Australians live with some form of disability. And at that point in time, we're represented on our screens at a rate of less than 1%. So for a really long time, that was the project, and it was going to be this moment to really start the conversation around disability representation and inclusion and how we as an industry need to be doing better. And I think the more we thought about it and the more we dug into it, the more we all realized that we really didn't want that to be it. We didn't want it to be a flash in the pan moment. We didn't want it to just be the start of the conversation and then people move on from it, because in advertising, things move really quickly. So people do forget about things. So we decided if we wanted to do something to really create long-term enduring change, we needed to really commit to it. And that's where the idea of the Shift 20 initiative was born. So for a long time, it was just a campaign. And then we realized we needed to do more, and we all wanted to do more. And that's how Shift 20 came about. And I was lucky enough to kind of be there on the agency side through the creation of it. And then I had my little girl and went on mat leave. And then I came back, and now I'm lucky enough to run the initiative.
How good is that?
That's absolutely brilliant. How many big brands have the initiative or the Shift 20 initiative worked with so far during its period that's been open?
So we launched with 13 brands around the country, swapping out a scene in their TVC. And some of those brands have stayed on as brand partners who we now work with in kind of year or multi-year long capacities. So, brands like Uber, ANZ, NIB, Tourism Australia, McDonald's have all been on the journey with us from the start, which has been incredible. And then we've been lucky enough to also add some additional brands to our remit, like Anytime Fitness, PepsiCo, and The Iconic most recently. So we're always growing. We're always looking to work with more brands. But yeah, we have I would say, a small and really dedicated cohort at the moment, which is awesome.
And how does that work? Do you just pitch to brands to be a part of the initiative? How does it sort of work?
Yeah, it's a bit of pitching. It's a bit of people reaching out. So what we did to launch, or what we did ahead of the launch to get everyone on board for that launch campaign, is we had what we called a CMO roundtable. So our friends at Uber were kind enough to host us, and we got like 10 or 11 CMOs from companies all around. They were all based in Sydney, I suppose, but from companies who represent and who market all around Australia. And we got them in a room, and Dylan basically pitched them the idea, pitched them the importance of disability representation, inclusion, why it's important to him, and what we wanted to do. And we were just like, what do you think? does anyone want to be involved? And there was this terrifying moment of silence, and then everyone kind of jumped in and said, yes, we're absolutely involved. We're in. This sounds fantastic. And that was such a, that was, gosh, now 3 years ago, and I still look back on it as one of the best moments of my career. Like, it was such an incredible room to be in and be a part of. So that's how we started. And like I said, we're lucky enough to still work with a lot of those brands. And then the others have been a combination of us reaching out to brands we know, or brands where we think there are really great opportunities, and brands finding us as well through the work that we've been doing or through their agency partners and things like that.
The anticipation to pitch that project in that room would have been like immense. You would have been probably shitting bricks a little bit.
It was terrifying. It was, I was pregnant, and I remember my obstetrician being like, this is the last flight you can take. And I'm like, that's fine. It's the last one I need to take. But yeah, it was a lot of effort went into it. I mean, even just, I remember I had this spreadsheet that I just stared at every day. That was, who are all the brands that we want to pitch to? Who are the CMOs? Who do we have contacts with? How can we find their email addresses? How can we cold call that? Some of them were people that, we had existing relationships with, either through Special Group or through Dylan, but some of them were just cold calls as well. So really, I mean, sending out that first email invite was terrifying, and then getting the RSVPs and then being in the room, but it was incredible.
Wow, that's brilliant. How did it all come about without working with Sarah? We had a bit of a chat with her about you. So how did that all come about?
Yeah, so she was part of the launch campaign that we did, and she was our amazing ANZ talent. So like I said, we had this mix of 13 brands who all committed to being on board, and then we worked with them to understand, because basically what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure all of the brands were on air at the same time. So that in itself was such a big undertaking, trying to figure out, align everyone's media plans. Brands and agencies don't normally share media plans with each other. So there was a huge amount of trust, even just from the industry, that went into a project like this to share when people were being on air. And so lining everything up and then figuring out what commercials I wanted to put into market at that time. Then from there, our creative teams kind of dissected each ad to say, okay, this is where we think we have the opportunity to make the most amount of impact in terms of swapping out someone with disability. And we really had to think about the roles that we wanted people with disability to fill across the suite of ads, because we wanted to not only represent people with disability, but smash stereotypes and break boundaries as we were doing it, to really reinforce that people with disability are people who live everyday lives in Australia, and they are consumers, they are friends, they are family members, they are employees as well. And I think the employment piece for us was really, really important. So Sarah was cast as an ANZ employee in the ad that she was a part of. And then we also had Ray, who was on the Driving Change Summit with us, the NIB ad. And then we also had Lara cast as the Amy woman. So kind of employment touch points across the suite of ads. But yeah, Sarah was cast as our ANZ representative, and we've since gone on to do a bit of additional work with her, and she's spoken at one of our events before, and I was lucky enough to be on the panel with her. She's just brilliant, and I love getting to work with her, interact with her every chance I can.
Yeah, I loved it when I found that connection. I went on the Shift 20 page when I was doing research, and I was like, oh my God, that's another person we're about to interview. That's brilliant.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a coincidence. Go ahead.
That's right. Do you feel that the Shift 20 initiative will help advertising companies understand how people with disability want to be represented on screen?
I hope so. I really do. I think such a big part, like I just said, we really want to make sure that we're breaking boundaries and challenging perceptions and preconceived notions wherever we can. And a big part of that has been kind of educating people in the industry that disability inclusion representation should be business as usual for everyone.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that Yeah, in some cases, yes, you want to ensure that you are writing for a person with disability, or if you're telling a story around disability, of course, you might need to consider the type of disability you're representing. But a lot of the time, we want it to just be that they are writing a casting brief and having a line on there that says, we welcome actors to apply from diverse backgrounds who have disability or who do not have disability, from different gender identities. Like, we want to make sure that our casting process is as welcoming to people from all different marginalized backgrounds as possible, and that we don't always feel the need to say, well, why are we putting a person with disability in this role? Because the answer is, well, because they're a person. Like, it's a person, and they're suited for the role, and we should cast them. There doesn't always have to be an explanation for why disability is on screen.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. You don't, if whoever's the best person for the job at the end of the day should get the job, whether it's disability or not.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. So that's a great thing that Shift 20 are doing.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Did you feel that the Shift 20 initiative was ever going to fail at all? Or was there moments where you thought, is this ever going to work?
I don't think there were moments where we thought it was going to fail. I definitely had moments where I was like, how are we going to get this done? And that's from being on the agency side, because, I was basically the suit or the project manager on it. So I liaised with Dylan and the team at the DAF. I liaised with the creatives, the production team on our end as well. And I was in charge of things like getting the contact details for all these brands and figuring out budgets and all of that, which was fun. But I think that sometimes it felt like a bit of an insurmountable task. Like, it was such a big thing that we were trying to do. And it's something that's really never been done before. It's one thing to get a brand aligned to something that is outside of their existing marketing plan and remit. It's another thing to get multiple brands on board. It's another thing to get all of them to reshoot and have their agencies be forthcoming with all of this information. And it was such a massive cohort of not only brands, but brands, their creative agencies, their media agencies, their production partners, all working together in this way that we really hadn't before. So I think that was really daunting at times. And that's where the energy of someone like Dylan really helped me personally drive this one forward. I remember there were a few meetings where I'd say to my boss, I'd be like, they're coming in, and this is where we're going to just have to have the hard conversation and really be like, I don't know that we can achieve all of these things we want to achieve in the time frame we want to achieve. Maybe we need to whittle it down, and like really have that hard chat. And I'd feel so nervous going into the room. And then I'd walk out after a conversation with Dylan and I'd be like, great, so we can do all of that. What else can we do? What other brands can we rope into this thing? So, he just has such a boundless energy about him, such a can-do attitude, but also was willing to get into the weeds with us and be like, well, who can I get on the phone with? Like, who can I call? Who can I reach out to? Which really helped drive things forward. So I don't think there was ever a question of failure, but it was a question of how much can we actually achieve.
It's people like him that want to get shit done
in
the world and
That's right.
make things happen. So without him, none of
this. The Shift 20 has had massive success so far. What impact do you feel it's going to make in the commercial space or advertising space in, I don't know, 5-10 years to come?
I really hope that in 5 to 10 years, disability inclusion and representation is just, like I said earlier, business as usual. It's not something that people even consider when they're it by nature goes into a brief. And that goes from briefing in agencies through to briefing in casting directors. Like, it's something we should be considering at every point in our campaign development journey. And that's something that we spend a lot of time speaking to brands and agencies about. And I really hope that in 5 to 10 years, that's really embedded. Agency processes have been amended to allow for, the extra time that disability inclusion done right sometimes requires. So that would be my hope. I think we're getting there, and I've been doing a lot of reflecting over where we were when we started this journey, which I think was 2020 or late 2021 or early 2022. Like, it's been going for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think the questions that we're asking of ourselves, but then the questions we're getting from agencies, from brands, from marketers, they're becoming more complex. They're becoming more nuanced because people are starting to really dig deeper into what that authentic representation and inclusion looks like, which to me is a great sign that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And that's why, in a way, Shift 20 is helping this with disability representation within advertising and helping that grow. And casting directors are starting to want to have more people of diverse backgrounds, of people with disability, which is a great thing. Do you feel these advertisements are having a massive impact on Australian culture?
I really hope so. I don't know, but I'd like to think they are. We do a bit of research with a company called the Research Agency, who are based out of Melbourne. And twice a year, we go into field and test consumer sentiment around disability representation and inclusion. And what we're finding is that people just expect it from brands now. They expect that the brands that they engage with to be focused on diverse and inclusive thinking and initiatives. So, when we know that 88% of people feel that diversity and inclusion is important to them, we need to see that reflected in our advertising. And it's really great because we have the numbers to make the business case for it as well. Our latest research revealed that 48% of people said they're more likely to purchase from brands who feature people with disability in their campaigns. Yeah. So I hope that number only continues to grow. So, and I think that's a way of tracking consumer sentiment. So I really hope that we are, impacting change and not only normalizing representation on screen and conditioning people to expect that, but then also opening their minds to what disability can look like. We've been having a lot of chats about the fact that a lot of what we see on screens is people in wheelchairs, and people with wheelchairs comprise, I think, less than 5% of the total community with disability. So it's about continuing to push those boundaries and say, how else can we be incorporating people with disability, representing different types of disabilities, telling different stories. Sarah, bringing her up again, but she's really passionate about telling intersectional stories as well. And that's something that's so I think the more we can continue to do that as an industry, the more we will impact change.
Yeah, well, normalizing the representation and seeing people on screen with disabilities, it's going to only make the movement push forward. I think we had that conversation with Sarah as well. And it was brilliant.
Do you think that having people with disability shown in commercials and advertising, do you feel it will help the disability community aspire then to achieve something great in their own lives, whether that be, wanting to be a part of the screen sector, or, I don't know, being
working alongside you?
Yeah.
I really, really hope so. Like I alluded to at the beginning, but I'm not a person with disability, so I don't have lived experience here, and but I am a woman of color who grew up not seeing myself represented, and that is what drives me, because we talk a lot about the fact that you often can't be what you can't see, and I certainly felt that way growing up. Like I wanted to be in fashion, and I never saw Indian women in fashion in America. And so it's like, oh, well, maybe that's actually not a space for me. What can I do instead? I'll think about advertising. Maybe that's something that's a bit closer to home, or something where they might be a bit more accepting of someone like me. And so when you do that just over and over again, you just are telling people that they're not welcome. And then we see the knock-on impact where if someone with disability isn't seeing themselves represented on screen, they think, oh, well, I'd love to be an actor, but that doesn't seem like anywhere that I could get work, given that I never see people with disability on screen. So then they don't necessarily go to drama school or try to get an agent. And then when brands do look to cast someone with disability, the pool of people with disability with formal representation is really small because we've not been an industry that's been welcoming, and that cycle just continues over and over. So we're really trying to break that cycle. And how we obviously came to meet one another is through Driving Change, but also Shift 20 Casting Call. And that's what we've really set out to do with Casting Call as well. Ensure that people with disability from all around the country, whether they have representation or not, can be putting themselves out there, doing personality tapes and submitting them, on your own time, in your own space. So it's more accessible as a process, so that casting directors, brands, and creative agencies can use it as a resource and find new talent. Because we really do want to break that cycle. And I think that it's so important.
No, good. How many people have actually gotten jobs from that casting call?
Yeah.
So 3 so far.
Yep,
which is exciting, and we're hoping that number just continues to grow. So I think since we launched, we've focused a lot of our efforts on getting as many talent with disability onto the page as possible. And we now have over 65 people on there, which is amazing. So we are now really trying to embed it as a resource with the industry. So speaking to agencies every week, speaking to brands, speaking to casting directors as well, to just really tell everyone about them, educate the industry on how to use the tool as well, so that it's something that, we only see that number continue to grow and grow.
The Dylan Alcott Foundation looking to expand the Shift 20 initiative in the future to represent more people with disability in the screen sector. So
I think we never say never to anything, but I think for now we're really focused on advertising in particular. There are so many touch points within the advertising industry and so many opportunities to do more and do better, that I think that in itself that's a lot. So like I said, we obviously work with brands. We launched an agency partner stream of work earlier this year. I'm currently having conversations around how can we engage production companies and production partners, to make them more aware of Shift and see what we can do to do better by crew and people with disability behind the camera. There are casting directors, there's post-production, like there's so many different facets of the industry. And I'd really love to see us be able to unlock opportunity and create change in every single one of them, alongside the industry and other people in the industry who are doing amazing things like Bus Stop and like Sarah and Get Skilled Access, who we work with really closely, that I think will stay in our advertising world for now, but who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to see someone from that casting end up getting onto a film, whether that be a small role as an extra or maybe a lead role, who knows? But I'd love to see that one day. That's for sure.
I would too. And I think that casting call is probably the one piece right now that can stretch more, because if we're getting buy-in and we're getting traction with casting directors who cast TV commercials but also film and TV, hopefully that's a resource they can use for all 3. But in terms of the other work we're doing, I think it will stay within advertising for now.
Yeah, cool. How did you getting to speak at Driving Change, how did that all come about for you? How were you approached?
So we worked with Bus Stop Films for our launch campaign. So when we reshot all those ads, we had someone from Bus Stop on board. And so since then, we've kind of been in touch with Tracy and the team at Bus Stop. So when, caught wind of it that way and was really, really thrilled to not only be invited to speak. That was my first kind of formal speaking gig, which was terrifying.
Oh, wow. Well, you did so well.
Thank you. But yeah, so it was amazing to be a part of that. But also, gosh, I learned so much. It was such a good conference, and they did a really good job, and I can't wait to go again this year.
Yeah. Were you there just for your day of your speech?
No, I came to birthdays.
Oh, did you? Yeah, right. Cool.
Ferociously took notes the whole time.
Oh, did you? How did you feel? Did it feel like a bit of like a warm environment to be in?
Yeah.
It was such a welcoming environment. I think they did such a wonderful job of making it feel like a safe space where people felt comfortable. you know, asking questions and sharing their honest thoughts and experiences as well. So it was like I said, it was a really special thing to be a part of, and I can't wait to see what they do this year as well.
Yeah, no, it'll be exciting. What made you want to be a part of that organization, I guess?
Yeah, so like I said, I kind of worked with the foundation for probably just over a year when I was at Special Group, developing Shift. And I went on maternity leave. So my daughter was born in June and the project launched in September. So I missed some of those last crucial months, including the shoot with Sarah. So I didn't actually meet Sarah until which was devastating to not be on that shoot after spending so long working with the team to plan it. But yeah, while I was on mat leave, the project launched, the initiative launched, and I was so thrilled to see kind of the response. But then I also had this feeling of like, gosh, that's the coolest thing I will ever get to work on. And I can't believe it's launched now. It's in the world. And I wasn't even there for the launch. I was a bit devastated. And then off the back of launch, I think that everyone kind of realized that this thing really had legs and was going to be bigger than we potentially had anticipated going into it. And the foundation needed to hire someone to run it. So I think because of the fact that I had all of the background and spent so long on the project, it's obviously something that's very close to my heart and really aligned with my personal purpose and mission of, bringing marginalized voices to the fore in media. And because I had that experience working with the team already and the industry background, I think everyone collectively agreed I was the right person for the job, which I still can't believe someday.
That's brilliant.
So it was a no-brainer for me, to be honest. And it was great because I said it was like the most amicable breakup ever with an agency because I still see them and work with them every day. So it's great. My clients are now my coworkers, and my old coworkers are now the creative agency that I still get to work with. So it's still all within the world that I am familiar with and love. But getting to run the initiative every day and just focus on that is so special.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. What's Dylan Alcott like to work with? You obviously have worked with him a couple of times. What's his energy and vibe?
He's awesome. I mean, like I said earlier, you can come into a meeting being like, I have 50 problems, and you leave being like, I have 50 solutions and 50 more ideas of other things we can do. He is so energetic, has so much positive energy, but also willing to do whatever he can to help us all achieve our goals, and is just such a team player. And yeah, I love getting to work with him, getting to interact with the whole team at the foundation is just awesome, and it's been such a great experience.
Yeah. Are you a tennis fan? Did you know of his stuff?
I am not a sports person at all, but I do.
Oh, really?
Tennis is the only sport I like. So very well as well.
No, good.
Yeah.
No, it'd be great to chat to him.
Yeah, I would have been in trouble if I went to work at a footy players foundation because I couldn't tell.
No. And you live in the sporting capital of Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
I know. And my husband is a diehard Carlton fan, but
hopefully they go all right tonight. I don't know. We got a win last night, so I'm very happy.
Oh yes, all of our friends are Crows fans because they're all from Adelaide. So
no, I'm Essendon. We won.
Oh, perfect. See, I didn't even know. I just assumed it was the Crows.
Yeah, so they Carlton's okay. Yeah. Could you give us a bit of an insight into what else the Dylan Alcott Foundation does other than the Shift 20 initiative? Like, what other programs do they run?
Yeah, absolutely. So the foundation is 8 years old and really primarily started in the space of grants. So the foundation's mission is to help young people with disability achieve their dreams. And that really started, given Dylan's background, it started in the sporting space. So giving young people with disability grants to, help them achieve their athletic goals. And that's really broadened out in the last year. So now we support people across, sports, but also music, public speaking, any sort of thing that they want to achieve. If we can support it, we do our very best to. And so the grants are a really big part of what we do. We also have a scholarship program where we have scholarships with a major university in every state and territory. And we also then work with the unis to ensure that the students who are selected for the scholarships not only get to go to uni, but get to thrive at uni by having their access needs met. And then we have the Nike Academy, which launched last year. So that's actually the newest part of the foundation. And that is working with high performance athletes with the goal of getting as many Paralympians to the 2032 Brisbane Paralympics as possible. So that's very kind of like elite high performing athletes. And then we have Ability Fest, which is our All Abilities Music Festival, which you guys should totally get to Melbourne for this year.
Yeah.
It's the best day. So we have a music festival. I think it's the biggest accessible music festival in the world at this point. And it's really just it's a one-day music festival. It's not just for people with disability, it's for everyone, and that means that everyone's access needs are catered for, because that's such a crucial part of being inclusive, as you would know. So that is such a fun day, and the team that pulled it together is amazing.
Have you been?
Yeah. So I went last year and had the best time.
So you run the Shift 20. Is that a 7-day-a-week job?
It is a 4-day-a-week job, but I work it's a full-time job. But I mean, the team is tiny at the foundation. Like, we're really small and have a really active and wonderful board, but I don't know how all I do is shift out of all of those things that I listed off. So, but yes, I feel really lucky that that's what I get to focus on day in, day out.
Yeah, do you work from home quite a bit, or is it a mixture of both?
We are in the office 3 days a week, and then I'm at home on Fridays.
Yeah, cool. Oh, that's suited today then.
Yeah, that's right. Do you feel the Dylan Alcott Foundation has changed or had a massive impact on the disability space? And do you feel it will continue to have a massive impact?
I think so. I think that, like I just said, we started in the space of grants. So I think that where our impact can be seen most is really through the positive impact it's made in individuals' lives that those grants have, for those grant recipients. And I think that's been a really big part of it. Obviously, Dylan himself has done so much work around changing perceptions of people with disability in Australia. And then that's what Shift is really here to help support through changing perceptions and advertising. So I think there's a combination of, historically, we've been really focused on helping individuals and impacting the lives of as many individuals with disability as we can. And then now it's about kind of backing that in with driving broader societal change through Shift.
Yeah. He's only done great things.
That's right.
And every business or organization or creative idea always starts with visionary. Do you think that vision of having disability be represented throughout society, do you feel that will carry into the future?
I think so. I hope so. I really do. And Dylan talks a lot about how he hopes to be redundant one day. Like, he hopes that he doesn't have to keep pushing this message, and that it just one day becomes part of society, and and people with disability are able to live their most fulfilled lives because society and those societal barriers have been removed as much as possible. So I think there's obviously a long way to go, but hopefully we are taking steps to get there every day. And that's not just us as the foundation, that's everyone in the community. It's you guys and your awesome podcast. It's Sarah, it's it's Tracy, there's so many people doing such wonderful work in the industry, and I feel very lucky to be part of it.
Cool. Your sleep deprivation hasn't waved at all through this podcast. You've been a great guest, Priya. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Gosh, I did have that little wobble in the middle. Hopefully you can edit that out.
No, all good, all good. But we've got one last final question. What advice would you give to that younger Priya who's growing up in Nebraska, having ideas of working in fashion, but then moved to advertising? And wanting to make a difference within the disability space through advertising? What would you give that young person advice?
I would say stay true to your purpose and be patient.
Yeah.
I came into advertising with this goal to change the faces of who we see on our screens 10 years ago. And it's only since May last year that I've been actively doing that as my day-to-day job. And I still can't believe that I get to do that. But it took time, it took patience, it took biting my tongue at times and not at others. But I think, I would say be patient, stay true to what you want to achieve, and find the right mentors and support along the way to help you get to those goals, and listen and learn as much as you possibly can along the way and soak up everything around you. Because it's only through meeting people like Dylan and I've had some wonderful female mentors in the industry as well who've really helped me get to where I am and get to the point where I could even take on a role like this. So good things take time.
Yeah, they do. Would you say it's your dream job?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can't believe I get to wake up every day and do this. And I'm loving it. I think I was really scared about what the balance of going back to work as a working mother would be like, but a job like this, it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time. So I love it. I'm thrilled.
Well, hopefully your little one has a good night's sleep tonight.
That's right.
And hopefully you can hopefully you can get some sleep too.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me. And like I said, you're doing such great work with the podcast, and I look forward to continuing to listen.
Thank you so much, Priya. It's been an absolute privilege. Thank you so much.
Have a great day and a fantastic weekend.
Thank you. Take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What a great chat with Priya. It was absolutely lovely speaking to her, and it's great to see that she's wanting and is making a difference within media and advertising around disability. If you want to learn more about Priya, a link to her socials will be in the description below. And if you also want to learn more about the Shift 20 initiative, the Dylan Alcott Foundation, a link to all those websites will be in the description below. And if you want to learn more about Twin Times, a link to Charlie and I's socials will be in the description below. Other than that, this has been the Twin Times podcast. We wish you nothing but peace and love throughout the rest of the week. If you're on Spotify, if you could give us a rating out of 5 stars and a follow. And if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Other than that, we'll see you in the next one.